Hey, y'all, I'm Shane Sams, the host of the Flipped Lifestyle Podcast. Super excited to be back with you again today to help you pursue your dreams and change your family's future. I've got a very special guest on the podcast today. He's a man that I really look up to and admire in the entrepreneur world. A guy I've been through some of his programs and definitely consider a mentor and an example of how to run a business and how to build a great life. My guest today is Aaron Walker from viewfromthetop.com. Now, you know, I don't have a ton of expert guests on the Flipped Lifestyle Podcast, but I had to bring Aaron's knowledge, experience, and wisdom onto the show and share it with you guys today. Aaron Walker is known as a great leader of people, and he has been in masterminds and relationship with some of the biggest entrepreneurs out there. People like Jay Abraham, Dan Miller, and Dave Ramsey. He is not only a great example, but a primary thought leader in the mastermind space. Over the past few years, Aaron has built and led dozens and dozens of masterminds, packed with super high-achieving men and women. Jocelyn and I have also seen the power that masterminds can bring to your business, your family, and your life. Almost every accomplishment that we've had and almost every success that we've achieved can be directly tied to the people we hang around with most, and that's our mastermind friends. It's one reason we built our entire business around community, because we know that nobody achieves anything alone. We know that success happens faster and it's greater when it's done together. But masterminds are even a different thing than a community. A community is kind of like your church. You know, you can go to church, you can sit in the pews, and that's going to be really good. But man, when you get into a small group setting, right? When you get in those small groups, that's when relationships can go deeper. That's when achievement can get bigger. That's when truly great things happen in your life. So as we were planning out podcast, I told my team, I've got to talk about masterminds. I've got to talk about the difference it makes to really surround yourself with great people on a personal level. There's a famous quote by a guy named Jim Rohn that says, you are the average of the 5 to 10 people you hang out with the most. So if you surround yourself with great parents, if you surround yourself with great husbands and wives, if you surround yourself with great entrepreneurs, great people, that's going to rub off on you. You're going to be able to become a great parent, a great husband, a great wife, a great business owner too. Masterminds are intentionally having small group meetings, intentionally spending time together, and intentionally holding each other accountable so that you can achieve a great life. And I don't know anyone on the planet who is a greater authority than Aaron Walker when it comes to masterminds. Now, I could have done this podcast. I kind of penciled out some show notes, and I was going to do a solo show and give you my tips for starting a mastermind, my tips for being a great mastermind member. And as I was writing it down, I realized I just kept saying the same things that Aaron told me. So I figured, why would I go through all this trouble? I have access to the man. I have access to him. I can just reach out and say, hey, man, come on the podcast. Come tell my people all about masterminds, how they can find masterminds, how they can start masterminds, why masterminds are valuable for them. Help me shatter the roadblocks that keep people from really going to the next level, keep people from uniting together in masterminds, and help me teach this concept that's been so important to me in my journey, so important to Jocelyn and her journey, and a common thread for every single successful entrepreneur I know. And that's the power of being in relationship and fellowship in a strong mastermind. So that's what we're going to do here today. I sat down and talked to my good friend, Aaron Walker. We're going to teach you about masterminds. We're going to show you why they are the key to unlocking your potential and going to the next level, and how small group masterminds can change your life and change your family's future too. I had a blast in this conversation. I know you're going to love it too. So sit back and enjoy the show. Welcome to the Flipped Lifestyle Podcast, where life always comes before work. We're your hosts, Shane and Jocelyn Sams. We're a real family that figured out how to make our entire living online. And now we help other families do the same. Are you ready to flip your life? All right, let's get started. Aaron Walker, my brother, what is going on, man?
Hey, Shane, man, I've been so amped up to get an opportunity to spend time with you this morning. Thank you so much for having me on Flip Lifestyle.
Man, I know that a lot of people are going to have their minds blown. The next 45 minutes is going to be a go, man. So I want to jump right into it, dude, because we're here to talk about masterminds, the value of masterminds, the power of masterminds, and really how masterminds can produce everything that we really need. And it's the thing that most of us are missing. But before we get started, some people out there might not know what a mastermind is, and you are the master of the masterminds. So listen, what is a mastermind? How did you get into masterminds? Yeah. And what are they?
Well, let's go way back decades ago. So just for a second, I'll tell you this, and I've got to be very vulnerable and transparent with you because a couple of decades, I didn't even know what a mastermind was. A couple of decades ago, I was at a Mercy Me concert at the Curb Center here in Nashville. Dave Ramsey and I have been friends since the early 90s. I was his second sponsor on his radio show. So a few years into that, Ken Abraham invited a bunch of people to go to the Curb Center. And I didn't even know Ken at the time, but he invited Dave and some other people to go because Jeff Mosley was a friend of theirs that was the label for Mercy Me. Well, I just love Mercy Me. I just love the group. And so I went. Unbeknownst to me, these guys were there. And at intermission, Dave walked by me. He goes, "Man, I didn't even know you were here." And I said, "Yeah." I said, "I love Mercy Me." And he said, "Listen," he said, "I've been thinking about something. I've been thinking about you. I want you to join my mastermind group." And I said, "Join your what?" And he said, "My mastermind group." I said, "Dave, come here a minute." And he walked. I said, "I don't even know what a mastermind group is." And he started laughing. He said, "Hey, come to my office Wednesday morning, 7:00. I'll introduce you to the guys that we've invited to join the group." Well, Shane, to be honest, I didn't want to go. And the reason I didn't want to go is because Dave is all up in your face. Like he's up in your business, he's hardcore. And I said, if I go to this thing, I'm going to get more of that. And I don't really know if I want that. And so I talked to Robin about it and I prayed about it and I went. And so sure enough, I got there. He introduced me to all these amazing guys that I had no clue. I didn't know anything about them. Well, I was pretty reserved. I didn't say anything for the first 3 or 4 months. I was kind of a fly on the wall. And then I started hearing people like Dan Miller say, "I've got this problem with this thing." And I'm like, wow, that's pretty cool. He just shared that right out here in front of all these 10 guys. And then Dave goes, "I've got this issue. I'm trying to grow." And I'm like, dang. And then Ken Abraham said, "My wife and I have been having this problem." And another guy said, "Hey, I'm having this problem with my kids." And I'm like, they're as screwed up as I am. Like these people,
That's amazing.
They are messed up. And it made me feel more comfortable. And so then I started sharing challenges with my teenage daughters and with Robin and I in my business. So to make a long story short, it gave me the freedom and a place to go with unbiased, trusted advisors that they didn't have anything to lose or gain as a result of encouraging me and challenging me. And it radically changed my life. And so I spent a dozen years in that group sharing. And I'm just going to be honest with you, it took me to a different level. If I didn't have those peers that could breathe into me and encourage me and throw the flag occasionally on me and edify me and point out my blind spots and my superpowers, I don't know what I would have done. And I didn't realize how much I needed it until I was in it. And then I'm like, man, this is going to radically change my life. To summarize it, what is a mastermind? It's your board of directors. It's a group of people that don't have anything to gain or lose as a result of helping you gain momentum, to slow you down, to put you on pause, to point out your blind spots, to help you excel in every area of your life. We make it way too complicated.
Yeah, man.
Just your trusted advisors. That's what your mastermind is.
And it's funny because when I got into entrepreneurship, I immediately heard that word mastermind, right? And it was kind of confusing to me. And I thought it was just like, cool, I get to hang out with rich people and they tell me how to be rich, right? But I got into masterminds, I realized it wasn't just, everyone thinks it's just business, but it's not just business. It's business excellence. It's serving others. It's, dang, man, me and my wife got into it last night. Oh my gosh, my kid asked me this question because this knucklehead said it to him at school and I have no clue how to do that. Right. And it starts like the Venn diagram of your life and your business and your relationships and your loves and your fears all kind of blend together with these people who are just going through life with you, basically.
Here's the thing, Shane, is that isolation is the enemy to excellence. And if you really want your life to go to the next level, you've got to get in community, whatever that looks like for you. For me, community is these masterminds because your life and your business, they're inseparable. Because if you're really doing bad in one area, it's going to bleed over to the other. Yeah. And you really need to be foundationally sound as an individual, and then your business can flourish. And it just helps you build boundaries. It gives you new perspectives. It gives you new insights. It gives you accountability. It gives you people that can walk alongside you that have been there and done that before you. Like, I'd rather learn on your dime than mine. Like, man, right. I'm not doing that because it didn't work out well for you. And see, here's the thing. Like, I may be ahead of you a little bit from a children and a grandchildren. You don't have any grandchildren yet. And you're like, hey, I'm going to watch Big A because he's got great grandkids, I mean, tremendous grandkids, not great grandkids. I don't have great grandkids yet. I've got tremendous grandkids. And you say like, hey, what he's doing is working. Like, I'm going to emulate that. I'm going to watch that. I'm going to, I'm going to pay attention. Because when we go do anything for the first time, like usually it's a beta test. Usually it's up and it doesn't work.
It's a beta disaster when I do it most of the time.
Me too. Me too. So that's the reason that I want to surround myself with competent, capable people that have kind of been there and done that before so that I don't go through the same traumatic experiences that they did.
So what does that look like? I think people get confused when they hear about masterminds and like, oh man, we got to be together and, 7 hours a week and, we're meeting every morning for breakfast and all these things. But what does a really good, efficient mastermind look like where people can come together, lean on each other? And what's funny about masterminds, I have a group that I hang out with and we do these in-person things. And we even rotate younger guys in because the older guys are awesome. We get experience from older guys and guys that have more experience and wisdom. But then new, fresh ideas can even come in as we're mentoring these young bucks. They bring new ideas. But how do you structure your masterminds? I know you lead a bunch of masterminds. How do you get people together? How do you provide leadership? How do you build those relationships that are deep enough to share those personal things in our lives?
Well, here's the truth of the matter. I wish there were a magic pill and everybody could get in and everybody's vulnerable and transparent and authentic right out of the gate, but that's just not the way it works. That's not reality. The reality is that you have to earn others' trust, and that takes time. It's not something that can work out quickly. You can't get in a mastermind in 2 or 3 weeks and air all your dirty laundry and expect them to know exactly where you're at. The benefit and the value of being in masterminds long-term is they know your propensity. They know the way that you have done things year after year. They know your objectives. They know your goals. They know about your relationships. They understand your children. There's all these dynamics that go into making a good decision for you. Shane, I couldn't come in here today and say, oh, you and Jocelyn should do this. It's I can't say that. I don't know your children that well. I don't know your history that well. I don't know how long you've been together. I don't know what your long-term objectives and goals are. I can't just give you a blanket answer to your problem. But when I spend time with you, we do it virtually, I did it in person for 12 years and that was great. But what that does is it limits the pool. There's only so many people geographically, but when you open it virtually, now we can start on time. We can stop on time. We can enlist people all over the world. We're in 9 different countries now. We're even in different days. I was telling you pre-recording here that we've got a guy in Australia that's on tomorrow on Earth today, right?
He's living in the future in his time machine right now.
He's an attorney, and this guy's amazing, the value that he adds. And if I didn't have virtual masterminds, I never would have gotten to know Jeremy. And Jeremy's added so much value and opened so many doors for us. And so there's that networking opportunity as well. But back to your question, is that it takes time for me to really understand your deep desires and to understand if you're a creator developer or are you a maintainer manager. For me personally, I've owned 14 businesses. And the guy that did a study on my life that's a counselor, he said, it takes something really energetic to motivate you. But then you lose interest after so many years and you started other businesses because you're a creator developer. Well, you couldn't come in and help me make a decision if you didn't know that. Right? Yeah. You couldn't say you need to go get a corporate gig and work for 40 years and get your Rolex watch and leave. And it doesn't work for me. But see, that's why we need to be in these long-term relationships. And I tell everybody that gets in our groups, hey, give it 6 months. Get in, give it all you've got for 6 months until you get the lay of the land. And once you do that and you realize that it takes time, then you start opening up. Then you go, hey, Shane's really a pretty good guy. And he's trustworthy. He's not going to go out and tell all my secrets to the world. And I can trust him. And I've seen him have a level of success. And he's got good kids. And Jocelyn's a good wife. And maybe his advice is worth listening to.
Yeah. You earn the trust over time,
you
basically.
have to earn the trust, right? It just takes time. So don't have any preconceived notion that you're going to get in and your life's going to be radically different in 30 days. That's just not the reality of the life that we live today. But listen, when you find those people, men, women, the mixture of the two, when you find them, they're trustworthy, they have your best interest at heart, they want to tell you your blind spots and your kryptonite, but they also want to encourage your superpowers. When they really see that you're trying to do something that has a purpose and a meaning to it, they're going to get behind it. They're going to hold your arms up when you're tired. They're going to throw the flag on you when you're wrong. And they're going to go, hey, man, I'm only doing this because I love you. I'm doing this to help you. The natural reciprocity of that, they're going to do it for you as well. Now you've got something that's magical that can last long term.
And I'm like you. I'm like real energetic, and I'm a starter. I'm a quick start. I'm the quickest of the quick starts. You find me an Enneagram, and I'm probably like a 47, whatever that number is, that's on the quick start. But it's cool because the people that I surround myself with compliment me. Like I've got people who are the managers, focused, like, and can tell me straight up, like, Shane, what are you doing? Like we got a 12-week plan we're doing right now. And about 3 weeks into my 12-week plan, of course, my mind is chasing squirrels.
You skipped week 8.
That's right. That's right. I'm like, we'll figure that out when we get there. Let's start on week 13. Right. But I said something in my group, and this guy I'm really close with, he sends me a message back and he goes, Shane, is this on your 12-week plan? ... And then he goes, is this even in your vision for the next 3 years? Right. And I'm like, no. And he goes, okay. ... Like, I was like, okay, we better shout. You need that's what a mastermind can do. It can provide you cover and armor for your weaknesses. Right. And you got people to like hold you accountable. How much time do you think you need to meet together, like on these virtual calls a week, to really start getting to know each other? I love the concept of consistently over time, showing up, doing the work, getting comfortable. But like, how long on a weekly basis do you meet with a mastermind? And then how do you contact them between these meetings? Like, what does that look like?
Yeah, we have found that an hour a week is adequate. We really try to put between 8 and 12 in a group. For us, we found 10 is the magic number. You know, sometimes people are out, but it still adds a lot of energy to the group, even if 1 or 2 people are out. Quite honestly, our groups average 90% attendance every single week, because we're a stickler for being there. Because listen, you can't add value if you're not there. Yeah. And other members are paying money to hear what you have to say. So not only are you getting yourself cheated, but you're cheating the other members. You've got to think about it from a servant mentality. And you've got to go with giving what we call a full cup. You've got to come prepared to give. And when you give and give and give, they're going to naturally want to give back to you. But when you go and you suck the life out of the room and you're there just to get what you can get, other people detect that pretty quick, and they're going to shut the whole room down. So when you've got a room full of givers, it's unbelievable. Try this resource, do this. Here's a connection. Here's something that I want to introduce to the group. You're like, oh my gosh, it's like drinking out of a fire hose when you develop that culture of giving and helping. But 1 hour a week just on the virtual call. But here's what we found out, Shane, that is so cool. All these sidebar conversations are going on offline all the time. Like we have what's called weekly accountability meetings, 3 or 4 guys doing the 12-week year. They're meeting for another hour in other groups. Other guys are connecting, going in business together. Other people are connecting people with podcast hosts. And it's just a frenzy going on even outside of the group. But in person, virtually, not physically in person, virtually, it's 1 hour a week, very structured. We start on time, we end on time, and it gives you that sense of accountability throughout the whole week.
Yeah. And I like to say that masterminds, there was 2 things there I heard you say. One, it sounds like having a good leader that can really filter people into the mastermind and make sure that those givers make it in is really, really super important.
That's in the interview process. When people make application to join, you want to go through the interview process and make sure that their spirit is to give, not to hold their cards close to their vest, not to hide, not to share their resources. Like, no, you're not getting in my group. We want people that's willing to share, because then they have an abundance mindset, not a scarcity mindset. Yeah. And when you get a group together that has an abundance mindset, it opens the doors for opportunities like you've never seen. And so, yes, having a great person like you or someone similar to you that can go through and be the filter to make sure that you're vetting the people properly, to make sure that you're getting whole, solid people in the group that really want to see everybody excel.
Yeah, man, because everybody's kind of fell into like a free group. I love it when I'm in these Facebook groups and somebody posts, anybody want to start a mastermind? And I'm like, that would be like just running out in the middle of a mall and shouting that out loud. Like that's not going, I don't care if they're even like-minded people in a free Facebook group. These are going to be random people you don't know. And people who see that are probably just looking for clients. That's why they DM you back to join the thing.
It's a lead magnet to take you to something else. And that's
right,
the case here. Here's the other thing too, Shane. I know we hadn't talked about this. A lot of people talk about the cost. We pay attention to what we pay for. And when we're making a financial commitment, we show up. Yeah. And we tried to start mastermind groups at a much lower rate, 50% attendance when we had the lower price point. When we had a price point that got their attention, they were like, man, I want to get the value. And then they show up and you know what happens? They get the value because they show up, they give, they interact. And then it's just, these free things, okay, but I'm just telling you, long term, they're not going to last.
Yeah, I can think back of free resources that I've gotten that I never used. And I can then look at courses or anything that I've actually paid for, and I'm like, I'm getting my money out of this. Sure. Like, I'm going to show up, I'm going to ask questions, I'm going to do everything I can because I just spent money on it and I need that return, right? But it's the same thing with like mastermind groups. Like, if you're not willing to invest time and treasure into it, actually, if you go into it yourself and you're like, I don't want to put any money in this, that might be a flag that that's not the place you even need to be at, because you're not willing to bet on the group or bet on yourself that it's going to come back to you in spades on your time and money side, So what do you think the three biggest benefits are? And we kind of touched on this a little bit about being in a group that's meeting consistently, that you're invested in financially. Yeah. Like, what does that look like now in production? Because we all do have to think about that. We only get one life. We got limited time. We got limited money to invest in things. Sure. What does that look like in business? What does that look like in relationships? How does that affect your health? Like, what are the biggest benefits of being in a mastermind?
Well, there's countless benefits, but we'll go over just a few high level. First of all is that you don't know what you don't know, right? And I tell everybody that every single day. It's like, I learn things even now after 20 years of being in a mastermind group every single week. I'm like, man, I didn't even know that. Well, I sure wouldn't have known it had I not been in that group. And the knowledge that you gain from being in there. The other thing is perspective. It's like you can only see things one way, regardless of how hard you try, because you have one life experience. You have one set of filters. You were raised geographically in a certain area. And perspective is something. We did a construction project here at my house recently, and we were standing out front and we couldn't make the addition mold into the existing structure. We just couldn't, it wouldn't fit. And we looked at it, engineers came out, the builder came out, the subcontractors came out, the vendors came out. I looked at it because I have a background in building, and we couldn't make it work. And I was like, so aggravated. I'm like, why will this not work? 2 weeks later, I was sitting on my patio behind the house, and I was on a coaching call, and I looked at it and I went, there's the answer. The problem was I was looking at it from the wrong perspective. And when I took a different perspective, I solved it immediately. That's what happens, Shane, in our business lives every single day. We're like, we didn't know to look at it from that perspective. We didn't know to have that mindset. We didn't know that we needed this relationship. We didn't know this technology existed. And when you get smart people together and they're giving, they're not taking, they're suggesting, they're introducing you, man, the perspective is just unbelievable. Third and finally, you just said three. I could go on for 3 hours, but it's insight. The insight that other people have because of their relationships, the introductions that they can make, the resources that they can add. It's like when I look back now and I think about all the business opportunities, when I think about the opportunities that I've had to be on podcasts, the opportunities I've had to open certain doors for me. I was at a conference not long ago, Entree Leadership Mastery. And I was sitting on the second row, and Dave and I said earlier, have been friends since the early 90s. He invited me to this, and he used me as an example. And I'll tell you why I wished he hadn't in a minute, but he used me as an example. He said, I want to tell you something. Relationships trump everything. And then he paused. And I kind of knew where he was going with this, but I didn't say anything. He said, let me tell you why it's so important to build relationships. And he said, if you want to get in to see me, 160 people sitting in the audience. He said, if you want to get in to see me, you're probably not going to get in to see me. It's probably not going to happen. You're going to see Patty, and Patty, my assistant, is going to decide. And Patty's even got a sign on her front glass that says, if you're getting in to see the wizard, you got to pass me first. So that's what Dave.
She's like the green door in Oz. You got to get through, right?
And so, but here's what he did say. He said, that's not going to happen. But he pointed at me and he said, but if Aaron Walker calls me and says, hey, you need to see Shane, you're getting in. And he said, the point of the matter is I trust him. The reason I trust him is I've spent years with him. Now I've spent decades with him. I know his heart. I know he's not going to take advantage of it. And so, see, that's what the mastermind does. You have all these people in the room that now they trust you. And the reason that they trust you, they spent time with you. They know your heart. They know that you're not going to take advantage of them. And you know what they're going to do? They're going to share their whole community with you.
Yeah.
Now you got 10 people that have thousands of connections multiplied times 10. And there's all the opportunities you'll ever need to open any door that you could possibly imagine opening. But when you're not in community to that level, when you don't do it consistently, nobody knows you, so they can't trust you. Yeah. And so the level of trust in the sphere of influence that you're going to impact and the opportunities, the insights, the perspectives, it's just the value there. It's immeasurable. I'm just going to say it. It's immeasurable, the value of being in a mastermind. But you said the word best a while ago, consistently. If you're not going to do it consistently and you're going to just jump in and get what you can get and move to the next group. Dan Miller called me the other day. This was hilarious. We were talking and he goes, hey, was this guy in your mastermind? And I said, yes. He said, you know what? He left yours after a short period of time, didn't he? I said, yes. He said, he joined mine. And I said, did he? He said, yeah. He said, and he was only in a short period of time. And now he started a mastermind himself. And I heard that it wasn't going well. He's looking for, he said, he's a mastermind whore. I said, what?
He's just hopping from town to town, right?
He said, this guy's just getting out of everybody. See, that's the kind of guy you don't want.
Yeah.
What you want is people to say, hey, man, the camaraderie, we're going to lock arms and we're going to get this thing done. There's going to be a level of accountability. I got your back. I'm going to be your ISI brother is what we call them. And that's what you need in your corner. Listen, when you get a team like that, you can charge hell with a water pistol. I mean, you can go, but you can't do that when you're alone. Yeah. And I just want to encourage your listeners that are listening to me today, take somebody that's got 21 plus years experience in a mastermind. If you do it right, it'll blow your mind.
Yeah, man. It's amazing too. Like, I just thought of these examples when you said that, like, you know, I have a lot of people that I know really well and things like that. And sometimes, you know, just the people that reach out and, you know, my buddies, but hey, Shane, do you know so-and-so? Can you introduce me to them? And man, it's just so funny how our brain has this catalog of no-brainers. Yep. Like I know, like if you or Grant or Brian or anybody, like there's a list of people like, hey, can you introduce me to this person? I'm like, well, yeah, why wouldn't I? That's crazy. I'll look good introducing you to them, right? Like, you know, it's like, and I want to help you. But then like I had someone the other day that sent me a message and I was like, oh man, I don't know if I can send them. And they just sent me this big list of people they wanted to know.
Yeah. Here's the thing. You're putting your reputation on the line, introducing that person, right? And I'm going to be sure if it's an influencer, I'm going to be sure that I know that person. Here's the other thing. You know what that tells me about that person? They don't want to do the reps. They don't want to do the hard work. You've got to be in the group and prove yourself accountable, prove yourself that you're a worthy person to be introduced. People ask me all the time because I talk about Dave, you know, hey man, introduce me to Dave Ramsey. No, I'm not introducing you to Dave.
Right.
What books have you read? What conferences have you been to of his? What have you promoted of his? How much time have you invested in sharing and reaching out? Like, no, you're just going to suck him for all he's worth. And then you're going to move to the next person. I'm not into that. What I'm into is connecting this band of brothers or sisters, people that are really interested in doing it right and doing the reps and doing whatever they have to. That's the people that's going to succeed long term. And you get that when you get in these masterminds and then they call you out. Because when you make a boneheaded comment like that, they'll throw the flag and they'll go, you can't do that. You know you can't do that. And you're like, dang, I was trying to take a shortcut. And you're right, we can't do that.
Like
And
imagine if that
better.
person, if that person had a mastermind and could have said, hey, I've built this relationship with Shane and Shane knows XYZ. Do you think it'd be a good idea to ask this? They probably could have said like, well, didn't you just meet him? Like maybe that's not a good idea, right? Maybe you should invest in the relationship more than before you do that, you know? And I also think about it from like a church perspective. I always think of masterminds like a church. Like it's good to be in the pew. It's good to be at church. It's good to sit and listen to the pastor. You're in community, you're in fellowship. There's value in that, right? But man, when you meet every Sunday morning and you know everything about everybody's marriage, everything, and I've been in Sunday schools, man, where it's like, oh my gosh, someone had an affair. What do we do about it? Help us. Oh my gosh, our marriage is falling. Oh my gosh, my kid's on drugs. Oh my gosh, something bad happened. And like that deep connection can't happen to the person that when the pastor says, all right, 5 minutes, we're going to play a song. Everybody go shake each other's hands and hug them and say you're happy to see them. And then you sit back down. Like that's the difference. Like community's good, but deep, personal, individual community, that's where the magic can.
There's a difference between an attender and somebody that's a participant. And so the masterminds, I'm a participant. And the other thing is that when you're paying money and you're showing up and you subject yourself to the scrutiny of other people, you're giving them permission to get up in your face. You're giving them permission to call you out. You're giving them permission to say, that sucks really bad. You're giving them permission to say, when I don't show up, I want to be held accountable. See, even at church, we don't do that. But when you're paying money and you want to get better, you're paying money for other people to call you out, then you're going to get, listen, here's the other thing. You don't ever want to be in a mastermind with a family member, and you don't want to be in business with a business partner. They're biased. They can't help but be biased. You want people that have zero to gain or lose as a result of the information they give you. And why would they not tell you the truth? And listen, we're starving to death for authenticity today. We need people in our life to call it a foul, to say, this is not right. You can't. Listen, I ate a guy's lunch yesterday. And you know why I did? Because he was wrong. And when I pointed it out, he said, hey, thanks. I needed that. Like this is a great guy. I mean, like he's a friend, like he's a great guy. But it was like, this is wrong. I've got a guy today I've got a call about a situation that he told me about. He rationalized something that he knows is wrong. And I'm going to call him today and we're going to talk about it because like I love him, 30-year relationship, and he's blinded himself to a situation that's maybe could get him in trouble.
Yeah, man.
And so I love him too much to allow him to fall off a cliff.
And it's so clear in like what's amazing about a mastermind is, you know, it's so clear when you hear that feedback from like if you hear that from a friend or a colleague, sometimes you can even dismiss it no matter how close they are. It could be your best friend in the world, but it's one person. But when there's consensus in a group of trusted people and the majority of them are like, yo, Bob, you need to slow down. Like, it's like, man, I have to listen to this. There's too much wisdom collected together here to ignore something like that. And people don't have that in their lives right now, you know?
I was at church one day years ago. Alan Lindsay's one of my best friends. 45 years we've been friends. And he called me Monday after I was at church. This is years ago. And he said, hey, Big A, he said, you want to go to lunch? And I said, well, that wasn't unusual. Went to lunch all the time. So we're sitting there eating lunch. And he said, I want to talk to you about something. He said, I heard you tell a guy at church that you've been all over the Amazon fishing in South America. I said, I have. He goes, no, you haven't. I said, yes, I have. He goes, no, you've been down there twice. He said, the Amazon is 4,000 miles long and you've covered about 1/4 of an inch of it. And you've been down there twice. The reason you said that, you wanted to look like a big deal to this guy. And I said, Alan, he goes, no, I'm not through talking yet. And then he went on to proceed to tell me, you need to be accurate in what you say. The only reason you said that to that guy is you wanted him to think you were Big Pete. That's what you wanted him to think. And you know what the truth is? The truth, Shane, I can tell you today, that's why I said that. The truth was I wanted to impress that guy. And Alan called me out. He's been my friend for decades. And he said, when we say something, it needs to be the truth. It needs to be factual. It needs to be accurate. Well, see, if I hadn't been in Mastermind with that guy, if I hadn't been in accountability with that guy, who's going to tell me that? Right? Who's going to say those things to me to allow me to do that? Shane, there's just so many benefits like that throughout the mastermind. And the reason that some people get in just business masterminds, and that's fine. If that's what you want, that's fine. I like it to cover every area of your life. You know why? I almost lost my family over 2.5 decades ago. And the reason I did is because I was so focused on making money. Started my first business at 18 years old, was able to retire at 27. I don't say that boastfully. I say that just to say that it afforded me an opportunity to do other things. Well, then I started believing in myself. Then I started thinking I'm the golden child. Like I became very arrogant. I was very condescending. And I was like, hey, I can do it again. I can do it again. And I got on this binge to where I was making all this money, buying all these possessions. And I came home one day with a pocket full of money to a house full of strangers. And I said, hey, I'm doing this great thing financially at the expense of my family. Then I had an automobile accident in 2001 where I ran over and killed a pedestrian. And God really used that in my life to really reorient me and really refocus me and say, hey, you better pay attention because any of us can be blindsided. At any time, at any moment, that could happen to you. And it really started me thinking about purpose in life and meaning. And I said, I've got to surround myself with competent people that won't allow me to go off the tracks again. And so I'm telling you, it's not just from a business perspective, but it saved my marriage. It saved me from being a bad dad. It helped get me refocused. And so that's what I want your audience to hear today. This is not just for your business. This is for you in its entirety.
It's amazing, man. So listen, everybody, there's thousands of people who sit there going, I don't have that. Like there's people listening to this going, man, I don't have anybody like that. But, and there's always the buts, right? And people come right back at you and they're like, well, why? They tried. I think people feel like they want it, but then let's be honest, we're making excuses, but they come up with reasons that are in their life and they say, hey, I can't do this because. So I just wanted to ask you, like, what would you say to a couple of these things? Like the biggest one that always comes up to me, because I know that this is the negotiation in anything I do, I got to have is my wife, right? You know, sometimes we can be, I'm in this, I want this, but the spouse doesn't really see the value in it. You know what I'm saying? So like, and you know, I always have this theory with other things like my business or maybe a parenting method. Like if I can just prove myself that this works, then that'll give me some, you know, collateral in the discussion. You know, it's not just flying the fancy idea, but like, how do you convince your spouse that this is a good thing? Like, I'm going to spend some of our money from our budget on this. I'm going to be spending an hour with these people every week. And we're so busy, we may not have an hour good together most of the time. You know, how do you convince your spouse it's a good idea if they're not on board?
I think it takes a lot of communication first and foremost. And I think that we all need to go and sit down with our spouse, whether this is a woman's mastermind or a men's mastermind, and say, what is my personal, professional, and spiritual development worth? So you got to ask that question. And then you've got to say, hey, if I'm going to be the leader or if I'm going to be, you know, a part of this relationship to where I can bring all I can bring to really help us mature and to grow, what is that worth? And you have to think about that. And really, for me, there's not a tangible visual ROI that you can say, I put in $1 and I got back $2. But when you can say, I'm a better husband, I'm a better wife, I'm a better dad, I've put boundaries up, I've grown our business double what it would have been without the counsel of this, like, what is that worth? Well, to me, I don't know that there's an amount that you could say. I mean, I'm sure you could say, well, it's not worth this. Maybe it wouldn't be. But when it's such an insignificant amount of money, comparatively speaking, to your overall net worth, why would you not try that when you're surrounding yourself with competent people that have different perspectives, their core values align? Like, what could be the worst that could happen? And so you have to ask that question. Here's what we have found, the irony of this. At first, we were just all men's groups, and we had 15 men's groups. And then my wife said, hey, we got to start them for women, and we did. And so we've got successful groups for women. The women became the biggest advocate for the men. And they didn't believe it initially. Brett Barnhart was a member that joined 7 or 8 years ago, and he did an April Fool's joke on Crystal, told her that he quit. She lost her mind. She could call Aaron back right now, and you tell him you're back in. I mean, like, he had her convinced that he had quit. And then we had a good laugh over it. And I asked Crystal, I said, like, why did you respond that way? And she said, because the man that joined is not the man I have now. The man that joined initially was selfish and arrogant and condescending and wasn't the dad that he is now. He wasn't the husband he is now. I don't know what you've done to my husband, but I like it. And so we have seen that hundreds of times. So you've got to ask yourself, do you have all the answers? And if you've got all the answers and you're making all the money and you're a perfect dad or you're a perfect wife and you're, your perfect spouse, then maybe you don't need to join the mastermind group. But if you can improve and you can grow and you have great aspirations and you need accountability and new perspectives and people to point out your blind spots, then I'm like, yes, you need to be in the mastermind group. Very few people can say, hey, I've got it all together in every area. Here's the other thing, Shane. Life deals us a blow. And if we're trying to find support and help during that, it's very difficult. So we all ebb and flow. We all have mountaintops. We all have valleys. And listen, I don't know about you, but I want those trusted advisors around me when I'm going through those deep valleys. I've been through those deep valleys, almost lost my family, going through killing a pedestrian. There's been business crisis, and I need people around me at that time to hold my arms up and to lock arms and say, we got you. And then I also need to be that mentor that celebrates when Shane hits a home run. Like, I want to celebrate with you. And if you don't have these people you've invested these relationships in, who are you celebrating with? And who's going to walk with you through those valleys? And so I could go on literally for hours telling you other values, but the spouse has to understand, if you're in it to be a better person, be a better business, then it's certainly worth the time.
If you go into something like that selfish, they're not going to even see the value in it. But when they know it's because you want to do for them, it's really for your family that you're entering into these relationships, then it's going to be a lot easier. Now, me and you are people. We're people, Aaron. You know this. Like, we like people. We like to talk. We like to hang out with people. But my wife, she's introverted.
Right.
I got my best friend in the world is introverted. I think our relationship works so good because I talk a lot and he listens well. Right. But like, what do you say to somebody? It's like, oh man, I got to go into a new group of new people. I don't know them. What am I going to say? Can I even add any value to this group?
Yeah.
Like that make, groups make them nervous, but why would someone like that need a group or want to be in a group or overcome that to be in it?
Regardless of our personality, whether we're extroverted or introverted, we all want to grow. We all need perspective and insight and encouragement. We all need those things. We present it differently. Shane, if it was just me and you and 8 others like us, we would be talking over each other. Nobody would never be silent. Right. We would never shut up. Me and you talk nonstop, right? It's like we need people like that to go, time out, hold on, I'm going to put a technical on you. Quiet for a second. Here's the other thing. It's the diversity of the group that makes it so beneficial. Because if everybody was like me, I wouldn't get a different perspective. So we need people like that. And you know what else? The introverted person needs people like us to pull them out of their shell a little bit. Right? It's like, occasionally, dude, you got to lighten up and you got to get out of that. And so for me, I want that level of diversity. I want a diversity from an income standpoint, because you can always be a mentor. You can always be a mentee. You can always reach up. You can always reach back. And here's the thing. The wealthiest guy we've got in our mastermind group right now, his family was a disaster. The guy with the least money helped him put those relationships back together. It's like, and that guy taught him how to make money. And so what I'm saying is it's a real give and take in every area of your life.
And you find those, if you just get pigeonholed into, I only look for people who have 6-figure businesses or whatever, then you lose that. Well, that dude's a great dad and I'm not doing so good there. Right? She's a great mom and I'm not doing so good. So you get all those things. That's brilliant. That's amazing. So let me ask you this too. This is another thing I hear people say, because we've asked people, like, even to come on our trip. Like, sometimes we'll invite a couple extra guys, see if the mastermind can grow. And like, they'll be like, man, what are we going to do? And I'll be like, well, we're going to have fun. We're going to do X. We're going to do Y, but we're going to have deep conversations. We're going to talk about how our marriages are going, how our kids are going, and some people are really intimidated by going that deep with people. So what would you say to people like that are kind of afraid to be more transparent than maybe they've been in the past, and to kind of be vulnerable and open up to build those relationships?
Shane, I do a lot of Greenway talks where I'll get out and talk on the Greenway, and I'll just throw the camera up and I'll start talking and I'll mess up. And listen how Southern I am. I mean, like, I'm country to the bone, and I'll say something stupid or won't even use the right word, and I'll go, y'all just forgive me. Well, what I have found out over the years is that's what endears people to me, because I tell them the truth. Like, Robin and I had a fight this morning. Just to be honest with you, on this interview this morning, I had to go back into the house and apologize. I hugged her, kissed her. I said, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to say that. We've been married 41 years in June. People that say we never fight, well, you're a liar. I don't believe you. We fight.
Right.
And then we make up, and then we fight, and we've been doing that for 41 years, but Robin's my biggest advocate, but I'm transparent about it. I just say, hey, here's the truth. Like, I've done pretty good in business, but sometimes I go, cash flow is bad right now. Like, I need to figure out something to change some things, or be real. And then people identify with that. People that are all polished and do all these things and 4-hour work week and live in Hawaii, and that's just not reality. The reality is we all have struggles. And I talk about people putting on that facade, and they're laying in bed at night and they're saying, I don't know how I'm going to make the mortgage tomorrow. Like, you need a group of people that you can say, I don't know how I'm going to do the mortgage tomorrow. Y'all help me figure this out. And then what I say to that is that the leader sets the tone for the accountability, for the transparency, for the vulnerability, right? The guy leading, and you're a very vulnerable guy. I mean, you get in there and share. It's like, it gives everybody else permission to go, let's just be real. Okay. Like, everything's not great for you all the time. And these guys I mentioned earlier, and I can't tell things private, but I've seen Dave Ramsey sit there and not know what the crap he was going to do tomorrow. Dan Miller is another one. Ken Abraham, Jeff Mosley, Ron Doyle. Those guys are like great guys. They have big businesses, but they're like, dude, I need help. I need somebody to walk alongside me. And it's like, if you're not real, I can't help you. If you've got a facade up and we're dealing with things that are artificial, I can't. Listen, when you let that veil down and you become vulnerable and transparent to a few, and you can't do it with the world, but you do it with those people, now we're at a solid footing. We've got something to work from. Like, I got the facts. I've got the reality. Now we're going to help rebuild you and get you to a point. If you don't have those people, what are you doing? Like, you know what's going to happen? You're going to crash and burn eventually. That's what's going to happen, because we all don't have it figured out. We just don't. And we need.
I find too, like, I encounter so many people like in our community where I can feel like when I have someone on my podcast, one of my members, I can feel them not being transparent. I can feel them leaning into, maybe they're embarrassed about a failing, or maybe they don't feel real clear about it. But to me, it's like that's almost like lying, because you're kind of like holding it. It's like a lie of omission. Yeah. And we all know that lies stack up and they eventually crush you. And you're so stressed out and you're so freaked out all the time that you just can't do anything. And I used to be that way. Like, I was a football coach. I had to be like up at the top, rah, charge through the wall, and nothing could ever shake me and stuff like that. And, and there's times in your life where I've had to do, but like when I started being vulnerable, like I remember the first trip I ever went with the guys I hang out with now, I was full of crap. I was just like, I'm going in this group. These guys are ballers. I need to show off. I need to show out. I need to do this. I need to do that. And I will never forget this, Aaron Walker. So, one of my buddies looked at me and I was saying something. He goes, "Shut up." And I said, "What did you just say to me?" Like, nobody's ever told me to shut up before. And he goes, "Shut up, man." He goes, "It's so stupid. Like, you're saying you want this, but then you're doing this and you're not telling us this." And it was just like, that's what was holding me back, was I was not being transparent. I was trying to paint the picture that wasn't quite a lie, but like, look at me, I'm as good as you guys. But really it was like, no, okay, here's the veil down. Now what's wrong? Right. And those dudes made me sit there for 15 minutes we called it unsolicited advice. Yeah. And they're like, "You're not here for the next 15 minutes, disappear." And you just listen. And they just talked about me like I wasn't there. Huh. One of the best experiences I've ever had in my entire life, because I let the veil of look at me down, and I became transparent and I became vulnerable. And I swear, every time I catch my doing something, I know how much that was holding me back, and I know what's happened since. Well, and I just let the veil go, man.
Hey, we're going to mastermind just for a second. You just said something that I vehemently disagree with. Well, it wasn't really a lie. The lack of complete exposure is a lie.
Yeah, exactly. You're right.
If you don't tell all the facts so I can help you make a decision, it's a lie. And
we don't, and a lot of people, when you see, this is why you can't mastermind. I don't think, even with people, like when I go to church, everybody knows what's going on. I live in a small town in Southeast Kentucky, man. And like, if I was just going to the coffee shop once a week and telling everybody my dirty laundry, I just don't think there's bugs under that table at the coffee shop. I swear there is, man. That's what lights the grass on fire when it spreads like wildfire. And that's why I really appreciate having masterminds virtually with other people in different places. It just opens the door for me to be more transparent,
Mm-hmm. We just can't help anybody if you don't have all the facts.
Well, I got one more thing I got to say to you. We're busy. All of us are busy. People got kids, people got wives. And I know this is the biggest thing when we ask people to come into our world.
Yeah.
I just don't have time for that. I'm so busy already. I just don't even know. But you meet at 12 o'clock on Monday? Oh man, I'd have to move around my lunch and my schedule. Like, what do you say to people out there that are like, I don't have time to be in a mastermind?
Well, Roy Vaden is a friend of mine, lives here in Nashville. And Roy wrote a great book called Procrastinate on Purpose. And there's one line in that book that really resonated with me more so than anything that was written. It said that we've got to prioritize our priorities. And he said that work-life balance is a myth. And he said that means it's equal on both sides. And he teaches in the book that we need to be extremely out of balance in the right areas. And so what we need to do is figure out in life what's really important. Like, just because you're doing that doesn't mean you should. And we've got to sit down because we have limited bandwidth, and we've got to go, what's important? People tell me all the time, oh, that's important. Do you go there and do that? No, but it's important. It's not important to you. If you're not doing it, because our expressions of our activity is what tells you what's important. You can say it verbally all you want, but what matters is what you invest your time in. So what you've got to say is, well, it's not important for me to grow personally. It's not important for me to grow spiritually. It's not important for me to go professionally. You can't do that on your own, because if you had all the wisdom and the knowledge and the experience, you probably would be ahead of where you're at today.
Yeah. So
what you're telling me is you don't have time to grow, to do better. When I first started the Mastermind group, I didn't like to read. And I went and I told Dave, they said, we read a book every month. I mean, we're constantly reading a book. I said, I don't like to read. He said, I don't care. What do you mean you don't care? He said, if you're going to be in this group, you're going to read. Well, now, Shane, I'll read an hour to 2 hours every day, because you just don't grow through osmosis. You just don't become smarter waking up, and here you are better. And so what I tell people is you may be busy, but are you doing the right thing? And if you're not working smarter, if you're just working harder, that's not going to get you down the road. And so we can help you become smarter so that you can work smarter.
Yeah, man. The one analogy I always talk about this when people bring this up is there's this legend. I was a history teacher for 10 years, and I always told this story to my class when I was teaching Abraham Lincoln to kind of get them inspired. And I don't even know if Abraham Lincoln really said this, but he's the guy that got attached to this story, and it's a cool story. He said somebody asked Abraham Lincoln, while he was on the trail running for president, like, hey, if you had an hour to cut down a tree, how would you do it? Just being facetious or whatever. And he said, I'd spend 45 minutes sharpening the axe. Yeah. And that to me is what a mastermind does, man. That hour, we have 168 hours in a week. When I spend an hour in a mastermind, I have sharpened my axe to where that other 167 hours is going to be so much more efficient, so much more productive, so much better. And my life is just going to improve in every single area. It's going to help me do everything else so much better that I couldn't imagine not having it. And man, I'll tell you what, Aaron, this last hour with you, buddy, you sharpened my axe, son. And you sharpened everybody's axe listening. And I just appreciate you so much for going down this important message with me today. And thank you so much, man, for being on the Flip Flop.
All right, buddy. Have a good one. We'll see you.
All right, y'all. That wraps up my conversation about masterminds and small groups with Aaron Walker. Man, every time I hang out with that guy, I just get inspired. And I'll tell you what else inspires me, man, my masterminds. I've been in a number of masterminds over the years, built deep, transparent, accountable relationships with some amazing people. And it's crazy when I look back at my journey. Every time I see that hockey stick, every time I see something go up, it's because I joined a mastermind. It's because I listened to my mastermind, because I didn't have to go at this business and this marriage life and this parenting life and this life in general all alone. I had a host of trusted counselors that I could reach out to for advice. I grew up a kid in Southeast Kentucky. I was a school teacher for 10 years. I didn't know anything about running a business. So I find situations almost every single day, even up into now today, that I just don't know what to do. And it's amazing that I have these people that I can reach out to, ask a question, and they've either been through it or heard of somebody going through it or know the answer, so that I don't have to stumble into the dark. And it's not just in business. We all have different struggles that we have to go through. And none of us should have to go through those alone. It's hard to figure out marriage disagreements by yourself. It's hard to figure out what to do with your kids when they come home and some kid has showed them a video they shouldn't have watched, or they're asking you questions that you feel uncomfortable answering. Marriage is hard. Parenting is hard. Business is really, really hard, and nobody should have to do those things alone. And all of those areas impact each other area. If your life is out of order, if your marriage is out of order, if your health is out of order, you're not going to be as good a spouse. You're not going to be as good a parent. You're not going to be as good a business owner. If your marriage is out of whack, that's going to affect your work. If you're constantly stressed out all the time because you don't have the answers on how to build or grow your business, you're going to be a little more hateful as a parent. All those areas of your life are related, and we need to be working on all of those areas all the time so that we can excel in each of them. And none of us need to do that alone. It is my passion and my mission in life, guys, not only to help you succeed in the business world, but to help you have a better marriage, to help you be a better parent, to help you fulfill your mission, to help you impact the world, to help you pursue your passion and grow the business that you want. And I truly believe that we are better together. I truly believe that nobody should have to walk this entrepreneur journey alone. Nobody should have to walk marriage alone. Nobody should have to walk parenting alone. Nobody should have to walk life alone. You know, we have an amazing community of hundreds of family-focused entrepreneurs from around the world. Like-minded people who meet together in our social media groups, in our forums, who show up on member calls and ask great questions. But after talking to Aaron and seeing what he has done in his community, I really want to build something like that for our community as well. So that's why right here, right now on this podcast, I'm going to announce a brand new program that we have for Flipped Lifestyle listeners and Flipped Lifestyle community members. It's called Flipped Lifestyle Life Groups. These are small group masterminds for family-focused entrepreneurs. Flipped Lifestyle Life Groups are going to be safe places where you can be transparent, where you can be vulnerable, where you can talk about the most important things in your life, and you can get the support you need so that you can be healthy in mind, body, and soul, so that you can have a healthy marriage and be a great parent, and so you can succeed as an entrepreneur. Flipped Lifestyle Life Groups are going to be a place where you can find mentorship and accountability, not just from some random life coach, but from a small group of people who get to know you, who care about you, and who want to see you succeed as much as they want themselves to. Flipped Lifestyle Masterminds are not just going to be a group of people we throw together. I am personally going to hire facilitators and mentors to lead every single one of our Flipped Lifestyle Life Groups. People who can organize and guide and help the group succeed at a very high level. Flipped Lifestyle Life Groups are going to be small group masterminds of no more than 10 people. And everyone in the group is going to go through an application process, and we're going to make sure that we let givers into the group so that you can have that trusted board of directors around you, like Aaron talked about on today's show. Flipped Lifestyle Life Groups are true masterminds. You're going to meet with your group every single week for exactly 1 hour. And we're going to start and end on time so you never have to worry about it going over. We're going to connect you through technology so that you can text each other and talk to each other and encourage each other and cheer each other on and hold each other accountable every day of the week. Our Flipped Lifestyle Life Group facilitators are going to care about you and love you, and they're going to take parental pride on your success, not just in the business world, but as a husband or a wife, as a father, as a mother, and as an individual who wants to take care of themselves better. We hear it all the time. I wish I had a mastermind. I wish I had a group of trusted advisors. I wish I really knew people. Nobody here gets me or my dream or what I want for my family's future. Well, throw that excuse out the window, because Flipped Lifestyle Life Groups are exactly what you're looking for. We're launching Flipped Lifestyle Life Groups on April 28th, 2021. I plan to personally pour a ton of my time and attention into this program. I will be meeting with our Flipped Lifestyle Life Groups in an all call every single month. And if you've listened to my other podcast or this podcast, you know I know a lot of amazing people. Each month, I'm going to be bringing on special guests in different areas of expertise. People like Aaron Walker, business leaders, marriage and relationship experts, parenting pros, and anybody else that I think can help you take your business and your life to the next level. And every year, we're going to have live events for Flipped Lifestyle Life Groups. You'll be in a small group of maybe 8 to 10 people, but you're going to be a part of a bigger family, a bigger network. And we're going to have live events for Flipped Lifestyle Life Group participants to come and meet people from other groups, expand their network in business and in life, analyze our failures so we can do better. People who will laugh with you in the best of times and mourn with you in the worst. Flipped Lifestyle Life Group live events will be truly transformational, and they will be completely included in the cost of the program. Now, if this sounds like something you're looking for, if you're looking for a group of people who really care about you, who will hold you accountable, if you're looking to give as much as you want to get from a group like this, then you need to go to flippedlifestyle.com/lifegroups, all one word, FLIPPED lifestyle.com/lifegroups. And you need to apply for the Life Group program today. Once you apply, I will personally read your application. If we feel like you're a great fit for the program, then we'll schedule a 15-minute call to get to know you a little bit better and help you take your next steps. We're going to launch the program with multiple times available. We're going to have 2 men's groups and 2 ladies groups. Now, you don't have to be someone out there making millions of dollars online. These groups will equally cover all 3 major areas of your life: your personal growth and health, the relationships you have with others, and your business and entrepreneurial goals. There's going to be people in the group that make a lot of money online. There's going to be people in the group that are just getting started online. But the people who are succeeding in the business world can help the other people go to the next level. And maybe the people who are succeeding in the business world are struggling in their marriage, and they can lean on somebody who's excelling in their relationship with their spouse. And everybody can help everybody raise the kids. So everybody, no matter what your income level is online, no matter what you're doing as an entrepreneur, you are welcome to apply to this program. I want you to know this program is not free. We want to make sure that people are invested in themselves and each other, and that we have the resources available to support you by hiring mentors, facilitators, and providing as many resources as we can. So when you go to flippedlifestyle.com/lifegroups, you're going to see a price tag right on the page. We are launching the group at $497 a month, and that price will be locked in forever. I want to be open and clear and upfront right now. If you are not willing to invest the time, if you're not willing to show up an hour a week, if you're not willing to give as much as you get, please do not go to flippedlifestyle.com/lifegroups. And if you are not willing to invest the money, $497 a month, if you're not willing to pay for that accountability, if you're not willing to pay for those resources, if you're not willing to bet on yourself and bet on those other 9 people that are going to be in your group, you do not need to go to flippedlifestyle.com/lifegroups. But if you want to support and be supported, if you know that the value of being a better spouse, being a better parent, and having a better business is worth more than $497 could ever appear, then you do need to go to flippedlifestyle.com/lifegroups. You need to fill out an application, and you need to be a part of what I think is going to be the most transformational program we have ever released. Now, here's the cool thing about that price. Not only are you going to get the Life Groups program, not only are you going to get a board of directors of trusted advisors, not only are you going to get mentors and facilitators, not only are you going to get access to all these amazing people, not only are we going to be able to hang out live and in person, but your membership to the Flipped Lifestyle community is completely included in that price. So if you're already a member, we just stop your payment on your payment plan. We just stop your membership fee, and it's covered inside of Life Group. You're going to get everything in the Flipped Lifestyle Blueprint. You're going to get the entire Flipped Lifestyle community, all the Q&As. You're going to get the Membership Masters newsletter to help you grow your business. That's going to be delivered right to your door every single month. And on top of that, you're going to get everything else that I just told you about. We've already got a waiting list for Life Groups. We've been talking about this inside the Flipped Lifestyle community now for about a month. I just got so inspired seeing what's happened in my masterminds and in other people's masterminds, hearing Aaron talk about his mastermind program. I knew that we could offer something unique to the family-focused entrepreneur. So on April 28th, we're opening the doors. We're going to start interviewing attendees. We're only going to take around 20 to 30 people in the first groups. And then we're going to close this thing down, and we're only going to open it about every other month because we want to go deep and serve the first group really, really well. Learn how to serve all the other people that are going to be coming into the program. So we're going to keep this first set of Life Group members in an open beta. So on April 28th, 2021, we're going to send out those applications, but you can get on the waiting list right now if you're hearing this ahead of time. Just go to flippedlifestyle.com/lifegroups, LIFEGROUPS. When you get there, it's going to have a name and an email, or you're actually going to see the application. And if you hear this after April 28th, 2021, you need to get over there. You need to fill out an application so that you can get into one of our launch groups, or you can get into one of the groups in the future when we open the program each month or so. I've spent a lot of time telling you about it, guys, because I'm passionate about it. I cannot wait to see the success stories that pour out of Flipped Lifestyle life groups in business, in marriage, in life, in parenting. God has really put this program in my heart, and I can promise you this. I'm going to lead it and give you everything I can to make sure it's successful in your life too. So one more time, flippedlifestyle.com/life groups. Thank you guys so much for listening to today's podcast. We've got a great podcast coming out for you on Tuesday. Jocelyn and I got to sit down with a mastermind group that actually is inside of the Flipped Lifestyle community right now. A group of amazing women who met and found themselves through me, through Jocelyn, through our workshops, and through the Flipped Lifestyle community. They formed an impromptu mastermind. I had an amazing chat with them to show you what's possible when you find those amazing people and you up your average. So make sure you check that out on Tuesday. Thank you so much for listening today. I hope I see you in the Flipped Lifestyle community soon, and I hope I see you in one of our life groups in the future. Until next time, get out there, take action, do whatever it takes to flip your life. We'll see you then.